second video is going to go straight into some time lapse, right where I finished off at the end of the first video. But still, again, I don't know if this is going to be a 3-part video or a 4-part video, but we'll find out here soon. Okay, was it necessary? No, but I wanted to fill it in because I know it's there. And it's fitting real good. I'll take the back off tomorrow when all that glue dries, and we'll get started on putting the drawer slides in. It's the next morning. I'm going to take the clamps off, sand on it, get rid of any of the glue that I've got left over on the top, so I don't end up with any staining problems, and then we'll start getting the drawer slides in. All right, my countertop is going to be a little unique because I have an existing countertop that's coming across over here, and it's going to be thicker than the granite. So in order to keep the surfaces flush at the top from my existing countertop to my new granite piece of countertop, I'm going to make this notch go underneath of the existing countertop. So I'm going to get rid of this all the way across the countertop, and then I'm going to put a support board underneath that will help strengthen that corner up. On the other side, you can see that little lump from when I've clamped it, and that 3/4 inch ply was soft. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand off the top of that little plug that I put in there, and then I'm going to try to take the iron and get that flat again. Let's see how it works. All right, you sat right there and watched me do it. So that's going to be a little repair job that it won't be invisible, but it'll be good enough. All right, here's my plan. I'm going to take a straight edge, hold it right across there, take my razor knife, try to make a nice smooth cut across the front. And since I already have the iron warmed up for the other side, I'm going to go ahead and put some heat to it. Keep my knife out. All right, got it warmed up. Let's see if we can get this piece off of here. Okay, it's the following day. I left yesterday to go get my hair cut, came back, grabbed something to eat, decided to come upstairs and thought I'd better acquaint myself with putting in these drawer slides. The only drawer slides I've ever put in are ones that have been replacements for, ones that have wore out, and never a new assembly. So I got here, put them in, and I used these brackets on the back of the slides. They just pop on. But when I'd go to use the drawer, it wouldn't go in all the way, or it went in really hard at the end. The thickness of these brackets holding in on the backside would squeeze that drawer to the point where it just didn't want to stay smooth the whole way. So I took the slides back out, removed the brackets, put them back in, and it still was a little on the tight side. Now, to my eyes, the measurements on my drawer and the cabinet were correct, but I ended up taking the drawer metal slides off the sides of the drawer and running it through my disc sander. I had a side rail on it, and I ended up taking probably 1/16 of an inch of the overall width, a little bit on both sides, to get this drawer to slide smoothly. Let me reach in here. And it's smooth, and it operates to my satisfaction. I still have to put the drawer fronts on it yet, but I'm gonna hopefully it'll be a little easier on the next two. Now my bottom drawer, I already know that it's out maybe 1/32 of an inch out of square, and I don't know how I'm going to deal with that. Hopefully I'll be able to put some sort of a shim behind one of the side rails where it's not square, but I don't know how that's going to work coming out, on the drawer and closing it. But this granite top, it was a leftover piece that I picked up on Facebook Marketplace. I cut it down earlier on in the video, but let me show you what my plans are as far as getting this thing with a backsplash on it and get it to run all the way to the back. You can see that it doesn't quite go all the way to the back of the cabinet. And I went to like a flea market thing, and this booth had a piece of black walnut. And my plan is to get a straight line, get rid of this edge, make it flat, and it's actually going to be my backsplash, and it's only going to go to here. And I'm going to fill this in with some strips. Now it's not quite tall enough to meet the surface there, so I can't lay it flat. So I'm going to rip it, and I'm going to use two pieces side by side, ripped to the same height as the countertop itself. So I'll go there, and then I'll have to plane it to make it fit so I can get those two pieces in there. And I'll make this backsplash piece, and I think I'm going to leave the rough edge on it. I'm going to clean it up, see what it looks like. I may end up cutting it off square, but that's how I plan on making this a full surface. But all right, this notch that's in the side of my cabinet, it's unique to my situation. I've got an existing Formica countertop, and if all my measurements are right, it's going to flush out with this granite top. And it's got a little bit wider of a face on it. It's almost this size right here. So it should come across. This cabinet should tuck underneath the overhang of that countertop, the existing countertop, and that's why that's in there. So hopefully all my measurements are right, and this is going to work out. right, that's basically what it's gonna look like. I wanted to get that part done before I got the drawers in because I want to glue this section together. I still have to cut it for length, and I'm not sure if I'm going to leave the live edge on it yet or not, but I can always do that even after I glue it and cut it to length. But I'll get that thing put together and then get on those drawers. All right, that piece is glued together and nailed. And I think I am going to leave the live edge on it. It's a little wet from wiping off the glue, and it's fitted to the space that it goes in, so it looks like I'm going to maybe have to shorten up my granite top by about 1/4 of an inch, but we'll see. Now I get to putting those drawers in. All right, same issue with this drawer as the top one. I get it in about that far and it snugs up so much, I know that it's not going to work freely. So I'm gonna do the same thing that I did with the other drawer. It's just gonna be a little more difficult because my disc sander is only 12 inches in diameter, but I'm gonna have to set up the shop smith to, I want to do the whole side. I don't want to put a step in it where the drawer slides are, and I might change my mind on it just to make it easier on myself. It just may end up with a sanded step line in the side of the drawer. Okay, after sanding that, I got it to go in there, but it is still too tight. So I'm gonna take it back out, repeat that process, then space the drawer up from this rail here, and go ahead and put the metal slides on the sides of the drawer, and we'll see how it works. Okay, there's how much I've taken off of each side. I'm up about 2.5 inches from the bottom, and that's where the slides fit. And I will go ahead and pull off the inside sections and mount them to the drawer, and we'll see how this one works. All right, it's another day. I got that thing back together, and boy, it was still not working correctly towards the end of the slide. So I was hot, tired, and I figured I'd just come back and look at it another day. And I got up here this morning and took a closer look at it, and I found that one of the screws that hold on the side slide to the side of the cabinet was hanging out just a little bit. And it was just starting to scrape the insides of the slide itself. So all I ended up doing was getting in there and tightening that screw up a little bit so that there was clearance on that slide. But now I'll spin this around, show you the screw that I had to tighten, and then show you the drawer in action. And the screw that was kind of messing it up the other day when I was in here is right up here. Now, I'm not using it. Let me grab, it's hard to get under here. It was that screw right there. And it was just coming up and hitting the back side of that section of the slide. That slides as the drawer comes in. But it would make it past this section just fine. But as soon as it got to here, it started. So I don't know if there's a little difference in that stamping or what, but it was just very little bit. It was like a half a turn. But it's working great now. This is the last drawer to go in, and this is the one that I felt that I would probably have difficulty getting in because it's a little out of square. You can see it's sitting on there, and if you hold it in, there's just a little bit of a gap there at the top, tight at the bottom, and then over here, tight. And let me get the camera over here. It's hitting right there, but yet it's probably a 32nd or so away from the bottom. So see how this one goes. All right, I'm having the same exact issues with the rest of the drawers, so I'm going to take it over to the shopsmith with the sanding disc and sand it off up that 2.5 inches from the bottom, and see if I can't get this one to work as well as the other two. Over here on the shopsmith, you can see this gap right here in the spindle. That's how I make the adjustments on how much I want to take off of those drawer sides. And then here's the 2.5 inches from the table up. But this spindle is adjustable and lockable. So that's how I'm making my adjustments on how much to take off each side of the drawer. Okay, the initial test fit went very well. It slid in there very nicely. This is the piece of scrap that I used for a spacer in that particular drawer, the next drawer up. So what I'm gonna do down here is take that piece, put it on there, measure from the bottom of the cabinet down here to the top of this scrap piece, or measure that and add the 1/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to cut a piece of board to that dimension to lay across the back for the back side of the drawer to set on while it's in there, so that I can mark my fronts where these inner slides mount to the drawer. Okay, put it on time lapse and we'll get this done. Okay, I guess the saying is right, the third time's a charm. After sanding those sides and getting the slides mounted, it worked very well. It's easier to get than try to get my fingers in there. Get that open, and here it is, functioning. All right. Next, we'll take it apart. Again, take the drawers out of it, finish screwing in the slides, and get the door fronts made for this. Off we go. Okay, all of the 3 drawer fronts are cut, sanded front and back. The edges are sanded so I can put the veneer on them. I match the grain up from top to bottom, and my next step is going to be putting veneer on all 4 sides of the drawer fronts. Did find that this bandit trimmer worked really nice, except for where I had flaked off some of the edge here. It would want to catch on that, but as long as you hold it over tight and flat, it seems to work very well for the job that was intended for. Okay, I'll finish this up. All right, here's the drawer fronts sitting on top of the cabinet itself, and they're roughly going to be spaced a 1/4 inch apart from one another. And I haven't quite decided how I'm going to attach them yet and what I'm going to do for handles, but that's something I'm going to figure out. But I've got a party to go to, so that's it for today. We'll come back and see if we can hit it again tomorrow. Okay. It's the following day, and I'm going to interrupt this build due to the fact that yesterday an assassination attempt was made on former President Donald Trump. And I'm wearing this shirt on purpose. I got it from the Hodge Twins website. I think they're funny, and I think they're very accurate on some of the things that they say. The shirt, those who know the least obey the best, can be offensive to some people, but I think it holds a lot of truth. We as a society have not been educated very well to the contents of the Constitution of the United States of America, to the Bill of Rights, those things that this country was built on. But most of all, the scripture that has been available to each and every one of us to enlighten us to God's word and the true meaning that it has in it for each and every one of us. So instead of taking offense to this shirt or what it says, I would ask that each of you consider taking the time to know the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the scripture that is very enlightening to the situations that we are faced with today. So I'm going to get off my high horse and get back to this project and show you what I did last night starting the handles on these drawers. All right, I was trying to decide what I was going to do for hardware on the front of this for door pulls. And I got to thinking about, I had a cutoff from making that backsplash of that black walnut. And that cutoff, I divided into 3 different pieces. I cut square chunks out of it first. This one still has the live edge on it. And that's what I did with the Shopsmith, with the flat disc sander and the drum sander. But I'll put it on time lapse and show the next one, and you know how I kind of came up with that design. And a lot of it was by mistake because I screwed it up. I tried to use a router on these edges first, and I wasn't holding the piece well enough, and it chewed it up. But I started out by putting a piece of tape on the side of this. Let me go with this one because it's going to sit still. And I used the taller part because this is more of a rectangular shape. And I took and taped that whole surface, measured in 3/4 of an inch from each end, and then I actually used, let me grab this here, a 6-inch sanding disc, and I connected those 2 3/4 inch lines to make that arch. And that was my cutout from the first piece, and then I went from there. But after screwing it up with the router bit, I ended up just going at it with the sander, using the drum sander on the inside, tapering the sides, and it's not 100%, but it is definitely good enough for me. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to repeat that 2 more times for the drawer pulls and see how they turn out. All right, on the first one, I did not make that cut because I had kind of messed up the whole piece with that trying to router it. But that's what I ended up just by freehanding it on the different sanders. So this is getting me a lot closer. I have to thin it down this direction, get all the rounds in it. But I'm going to start out with the drum sander on the inside, but I need to put a new disc on that before I get started. Okay, there's the first one. There's the second one, roughed in. I'm gonna finish the rest off by hand. Somehow I ended up with a little, concave this direction on both sides on that one. But I'm not gonna do that on this one, only because it's gonna go on that lower drawer, which is bigger and it's gonna have heavier stuff in it. But I'll finish that off by hand and we'll see how it turns out. Side by side, and talked about that concaveness that this first handle had, and you can see a little bit there. You see the little crack in the middle. But if you turn this over or around, you can see that side is quite a bit more evident. So the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to put it on the drawer, so this is on the top drawer and up against the edge that is going to be the countertop. So hopefully it won't be so apparent. So what I'm going to do now is take that third piece and see if I can match this one. So off we go. All right, here's the cutout of the piece that had the live edge. I'm going to be cutting it close. You can see this tapered section here. But if you get down here, it looks like we're going to be able to save that and make a handle out of it. We'll do some sanding on it, see how it comes out.